Dylan? Okay, great. All right. Yeah, much better.
All right. Hi, Aissia.
Next up is
Hi,
Voices of Change
how you
with
doing?
your
Good
hosts,
morning.
Leslie Acosta and Aissia
Morning.
Richardson.
This is the new
Voices of
normal.
Change is to connect,
Zoom.
inform, and empower people to engage in social political change.
Can we?
Right here
We can't see
on
her
Usula
face,
Radio.
Dylan?
No, I am
World
trying to
news,
get into
local
the
politics,
meeting.
saving money and
I'm gonna
investing.
try
All this and more right here on Usula Radio.
Okay.
Your
Dylan,
voice,
the
your
title of
radio.
the show is going to be Topsy Turvy Month.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Where am I? Wait, I'm not on. Dylan? What happened here? Okay, go ahead, Dylan. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of Change on Usula Radio this morning. As you all know, the new norm now is through Zoom. On the phone, we have Aissia Richardson, who always participates in these great conversations that we have. The topic of the show today, of this segment, actually, we're titling this show today Topsy Turvy Month. So much going on in the world today here in Philadelphia. You know, things are just, hopefully we're going to see sunny side up soon in the near future. But, we have a way to go here. We have a way to go here, and hopefully things will be turning around for the better by the end of the month. That's what we're hoping for. And Aissia, things are, they're saying that the peak of this will be obviously coming in probably next week. This is where we're going to really feel the brunt of this. And they're looking at reopening everything April the 30th. I don't foresee that happening, but they're shooting for April the 30th. Things are really, chaotic. There's a lot going on in the world today, not only in the United States, globally. There's so much going on, but we want to bring information out to the listeners. Aissia, there you are. You look great today. Hey, so we were having some technical difficulties, but now you're on, and good to see you. It's always a pleasure to have you. So the title, once again, it's called Topsy Turvy Month.
Yeah.
And a lot going on, Aissia.
Yeah, there is, and it is our new normal. We're trying to flatten the curve. We learned all these new terms about this coronavirus, and they've got a new name for it, COVID-19. So we're just trying to get used to this new way of dealing, and everybody's supposed to be wearing masks outside now. So it's but we don't have them.
Right.
So you're supposed to wear them,
How do you
but you don't
how you have to
them.
wear them? You don't have them, right? That, I mean, it doesn't
Right.
make kind of sense on saying that. But
Yeah.
we're going to be discussing three things today. We're going to be delving into what's happening currently with our correctional facilities. Actually, now Secretary Winslow has confirmed 2 cases of COVID of 2 inmates. So he put a press release. We're going to talk about that and how they've been quarantined now. They're only allowed to be in their cells. Talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about how to eat healthy nutrition, or how to stay healthy during this crisis and eat healthy foods. And, the other topic that we're going to talk about is the economy and how that's impacted also what's going on here locally. As you know, the liquor stores, March the 20th, when Tom Wolf, he did a press conference, he shut everything down. And so, our sales tax here, or our sales have gone down 6% in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So, Pennsylvania is really getting hit hard with this situation. Even the construction has stopped. So we're going to get into these conversations about how, we can stay healthy, how we can have a positive outlook in spite of this topsy turvy month that we're having here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that we really need to stay focused in on is mutual aid and helping each other to get through this, because it is very isolating to be in your home, even if you're with your family members. So doing things like this and just being able to reach out and see friends and talk to people who are in your network and your support circle is really important.
Yeah, to stay connected, being isolated just from society because you can't really move, only essential services are working and operating. So that becomes a challenge in itself when you're in a home, locked down, isolated, and you're only dealing with your family. You have to look for positive things to do.
Exactly.
Because it can get crazy when you're in your home with your family. It can get a little crazy, but we got to find
Yeah,
positive things to do.
yeah, and increase your patience levels,
Yeah,
right? Like all of
I
a
don't have
sudden
any.
the thing that really bother you is like, okay, it's not gonna bother me.
I don't have any, Aisha. Yeah, yeah. Well, let's start with, I was reading something interesting today. The Union League did something very interesting. The Union League here in Philadelphia, they have about 3,000 members and they
Mhm,
employ about 350 people.
mhm,
So the folks of the union, the leadership at the Union League, they began to ask the members to donate $500 before all this broke, in order to keep the employees afloat and pay
yeah,
while this crisis. And I think that's a good way of, planning ahead. It's also important in these financial times because there's people who are unemployed right now. Aisha, people
right.
are really are being hit hard. We're not able to meet their bills at the first of the month. And so, planning ahead is important in these types of crises. They're saying that
Right.
the checks are now going to be issued, the checks from the federal government should be issued by the 16th of this month. So,
Mhm.
hopefully people will start getting this money soon because people are really struggling right now. There's some serious challenges here in regards to people meeting their bills and staying afloat. And so
Yeah,
that's a big concern, Aisha. Currently, that is a big issue.
it is, and so when the state shuts down and people are, but they still have to pay people, but they're not having revenue come in, and employers are laying people off, which means that they're not sending in their tax revenue as well. It means that next year is going to be a really tough year. It's going to be a really tough year. Um, so nobody wants to shut their economy down, but
Oh,
the reality is that this virus is, it doesn't discriminate, and so we have to do these things in order for us to make sure that we're not out of control, and it feels very much like we're out of control, particularly in New York and places where there's a lot of density, a lot of people, and they're suffering really badly. The one thing that I would say positive about the governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Wolf, is that he shut the schools down early,
yeah,
and so I think that made a difference in Pennsylvania, and the fact that we're not in the situation that New York is in.
yeah,
New York is in a terrible situation. I mean, and even you have media folks who I mean, it went through the media in New York. At first, it hit NBC, then it hit CNN, and so even folks who are supposed to be reporting on this stuff and letting us know what the status is are being hard hit by it. So it's important for us to follow the guidelines of our experts and our health department folks. But the impact is the reality is that we're going to be all in this together for a while.
yeah, yeah. It's good. This is for the long haul here.
Exactly.
And a lot of people have been affected by this. Let's start the conversation. Uh, for folks that are tuning in, you're listening to Voices of Change on Usala Radio with your hosts Aissia Richardson and Leslie Acosta. We are talking about the COVID-19 and all the things that are going on currently in regards to the challenges that we're all going through. We're all in this together. No one is exempt here. Everyone has been affected by this whole ordeal. Let's start with this conversation with the correctional facilities across this state. Now everyone is quarantined in their cells. The foods are being given to them in their cells. They're not allowed to come out of their cells. But I also know, reading and doing some research, that Secretary Wenzel there's a proposal on the table right now in the Senate, to see how they can release non-offenders, people with low offenders, but they're having some pushback from Jennifer Storm, who is a state advocate, who's saying, let's put the whole on. What do you think about that? How do you think that's gonna? What's the outlook on that?
Well, so I'm gonna put it the way that it was put in San Francisco. People who don't have life sentences should not be killed by coronavirus while they're incarcerated. I mean, I don't believe in life sentences anyway, but low-level offenders, people who have between 9 and 12 months left on their sentences, people who have who are high risk. We're talking about 1,000 inmates. We're talking about 1,000 people, and so that is, and they're still going to have home plans. Probation is still going to be, keeping track of folks. So it's not like they're going to be released back and they're not going to be still within the Department of Corrections system. They're just going to be at home, right? Yeah. And so, places like nursing homes and prisons are petri dishes, because you can't separate folks indefinitely, especially when they're in a lockdown situation. And it's not coming from, it's coming from the people. The inmates aren't infecting themselves. It's the staff that's infecting the inmates. I hate to say it, but it's coming from the outside. I mean, even though the Department of Corrections was doing temperature tests for their staff and checking their temperatures when they came in, you can be asymptomatic and still pass it to someone, particularly someone who is part of that vulnerable population that has. And the Department of Corrections, because they have so many older inmates, they have a lot of inmates that have pre-existing conditions. So the fact that she's pushing back on this, it really is inhuman. It's inhuman.
Yeah. I mean, if there's people that are, they've paid their dues, if you will, they're low offenders. Let's take some safety precautions here. And I think Secretary Wenzel, he's doing the appropriate thing. He's actually having conversations with the District Attorneys Association. He's having a conversation with the General Assembly, with the right people at the right table to make this decision that is not, in my view, and reading the press release, is not going to harm the general public. We're not talking about releasing violent criminals out on the street. We're saying low offenders to just empty out because some of the prisons right now are at maximum capacity
and overcrowded. Yeah.
And overcrowded. Yeah. And I think this is a way for him to say, look, let's look at this and see how we can reduce this. But the other thing is that they're allowing visitations to occur. What you're saying, the contact with people from the outside, that continues to have the phone calls. The visits are continuing with the people from the outside with their family members.
They stopped all the visits. The only way that you could visit now is on video.
So that was video. Okay, so that has been stopped. Okay, well, that's a good thing. But this issue of Jennifer Storm giving some pushback is just I don't understand it for the life of me, and why she's so opposed to this.
I don't understand it either. I mean, I think that if you want to be opposed, I mean, there are so many geriatric inmates that are in the system. Yeah. There are geriatric lifers that they're immobile. They can't walk. They can't hurt anybody. if you really want to impact the system, you should be talking about the geriatric lifers and bringing the geriatric lifers home. That's not what Wetzel was proposing. Wetzel was proposing low level, high inmates that have pre-existing medical conditions and releasing them early so that they could shelter in place at home. And so, like in California, they had a woman who was pregnant that was incarcerated on a retainer because she couldn't afford bail. So they let her go. They let her go early so that she was 9 months pregnant, so she could have her baby outside of the system. We need to have a serious conversation about criminal justice reform.
Absolutely.
And this COVID stuff is going to impact that. The other issue is that we don't have a fully staffed parole board.
We do not.
So
there's a lot of vacancies, and that's a problem.
So there are 3 vacancies right now. 2 of the 3 Jennifer Storm doesn't have a problem with. 1 of the 3 she does. So I'm like, why does this person have so much power over the Senate's ability to do its work, right? So right now the Senate, because it's COVID related, because the Department of Corrections is trying to use the parole and parole system to get people out early. They are interviewing the 2 candidates that Jennifer Storm approves so that they can get those nominations in next week.
Yeah.
So that those nominations will go forward.
Well, who has given this woman so much power? She's only an advocate. She's only
Governor
a victim.
Wolf.
Yeah, but okay, Governor Wolf. Then Governor Wolf needs to look at this, and I think they're really blaming him for not taking a proactive stance, because you know what? He could, with a stroke of a pen, we don't need to go through the legislature and through the Senate to pass any legislation. He, as a governor, he has the power of clemency to sign and say, I'm going to release folks out. So, playing politics with this, because he doesn't want the focus to be on him. If he does sign and something happens, he doesn't want to be responsible for it, is one thing. But not being responsive to an issue that I call it orangutan simple. You get the people, like you're saying, that are low offenders, people that are not a threat to society, and let these people go. Let these people go. And this is the perfect time to do this, right? So it's kind of topsy turvy, if you will.
It is, and I love that term. I really love that term because we need to have voices of reason.
There you go. Good job.
Because that's the antidote. That's the antidote, right?
That's the antidote. Yeah. Let's talk about the school district indefinitely now. The kids are not going back to school.
No, they're not going back to school. The minute that the legislature passed the House bill to allow
the waiver.
To waive the 180 days, that was it. The school district was like, we're not coming back. And even though it took till the next week for the school district to articulate that to the parents, because they had to roll it out in a way that parents could understand it. So the solution is Chromebooks, and those are going to be distributed by the schools. And so the one thing that parents should know is when you get that 215-400 number that comes in on your phone, or the text that comes in on your phone, please pay attention to it, because that will tell you when, what time, and where you're going to be responsible for picking up that Chromebook so that your child can continue his or her education.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that a lot of things are being done now through Zoom, and so a lot of the classroom settings are being done through online. And so they can't physically go into the school, but they can do it online. And so now the schools that are fully online are really taking advantage of this. So I think education shouldn't stop. There's ways of being creative, like Ursula has been creative doing the Zoom, and other people. And we got to get creative and we cannot stop the education of these kids because of this crisis. There's ways to get creative and get this to the kids as soon as possible, because June is just around the corner. We only have what, 2 more months of this, Aisha, and it's done. I mean, come
And
on
it's
now.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah. My position is, and I know that people have a hard time getting access to high-speed internet. But Comcast has the internet essentials. Some of the phone companies are doing internet for $10 a month. We have there's some hot spots through the Xfinity, which that you can get access to. But one thing I want to just put out there: if your kid can do a TikTok video, they can get online.
Absolutely.
To learn to do their schoolwork.
Yeah.
If your kid can do a Snapchat, then they can get online to do their schoolwork. That's all I'm saying.
And here's the thing: parents have to be responsible. And I always say this. I've always said this: education begins in the home. It doesn't begin in the classroom. And so parents now, in this time of crisis, they have to become proactive with their kids and responsible with their kids. They just can't let their kids be in the home and not do schoolwork. It's important and imperative for them to stay up to par with their schoolwork.
And I think that now with the situation with parents seeing what the teachers are dealing with their kids, I think that there's a little bit more understanding.
Correct.
I think that there's a little bit more understanding. So hopefully, this whole issue of parents being partners in their children's education, that parents will understand a little bit better around what the teachers are dealing with. So some mutual understanding, I think, is going to be helpful for us to be able to continue to push forward our children's education, especially now that the education is going to be changing, because this pandemic stuff is, like I was talking to my mom. I said, we're going to have another season: winter, spring, summer, fall, and pandemic.
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna be going on shutdown. On a rolling basis. So we have to get used to and figure out ways of coping and strategies to move forward, because we can't, this can't defeat us, right? We cannot allow this to defeat us. And it's a terrible, terrible health impact for folks that are suffering from it. But those of us who are living through it, we cannot be defeated by it.
Yeah, and going back to this issue of educators and parents, and you're right, Aisha. Teachers, they deal with a lot, especially when you're dealing with the school district of Philadelphia, where a lot of our kids that live in certain zip codes, they have a lot of emotional issues. They come from dysfunctional home. Parents now, they really get to see what teachers go through in a classroom, just to try to give them and teach them and give them an education. So I think all of this has a purpose. I believe that, Aisha. But I'm encouraging parents to stay proactive with their kids, and that education, no matter whether we're going through this pandemic or not, it has to be number one in the home. Control what your kids are doing in the home. Do not allow these kids to be on your on these videos hours and hours. Set some time aside for these kids so they can do their homework and stay at least active, with their reading, with the writing, with the math. All that is important, and parents need to stay proactive during this time.
I agree, and I think that what's going to happen, particularly in the summertime, is we should be looking for enrichment activities for our kids.
There you go, enrichment activities, exactly.
We're going to have to find stuff on our own, stuff that we cobble together to be able to keep, because there is this learning gap that already happens in the summertime. So we need to make sure that we figure out ways to be able to get
and how to bridge that gap.
Yeah, we're going to have to. We're going to have to do it on our own, or with the school district's help, or with our teachers' help, because we have to be able to make sure that our kids are ready and prepared, because they've lost all this time. They're going to be behind next year.
Yeah.
And the school district should not be, nor should the children be penalized for being behind next year.
Well, that's coming. That's another issue that we're going to be dealing with when the schools they start again in September. But we'll get to that in September. We'll roll around that and we'll have that conversation here on Voices of Change. Let's talk about now nutrition.
Yes.
This is a good thing. In spite of all of this, a lot of people you can't go to the restaurants and eat. Everything has to be ordered through Uber Eats, or you order, or you download the app and make the order, and then you pick it up. So how can we stay healthy during this time, Aissia?
Well, I'm really excited because places like Philabundance and Share, those entities that have been doing food distribution for folks that were in food deserts or had food insecurity, which is that, folks who were on food stamps and their food stamps didn't last for the whole month, have really pulled together to be able to put together distribution sites across the city. And they have also upped their distributions to folks that have been doing the distributions to gap areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Areas where there's poverty gaps where you don't think that they are, right?
Right.
So there's several sites across the city that have been set up to do food distributions on Mondays and Thursdays. And I don't know if you don't have that list, I do have the list. I can read it off if you want.
Yeah, let's read off the list because I think
Okay.
it's good for the. Let's give Aissia a moment to grab that list. I think this is a good thing, information for the public square to have, to know where to get healthy food. And I think it's important during this time for people to stay healthy, right? I'm a proponent of that. So let's have Aissia read that list, because I think this is good information for the public square, Aissia, and for people that are tuning in and listening to Voices of Change. And I think it's important information to get out there. So just if you do have a question, if you want to get in contact with us, Dylan, if you can provide, if you will, if people want to actually tune in or call in or participate on this show, if you can, Dylan, can you put the number on the screen so people can see that number, and the call-in number and the meeting number, so we can get people to chime in if they have any questions? We're going to start inviting people, Aissia, going forward to participate in our exactly. And exactly. We want people to interact with us. We want the public square to get in contact with us via Zoom. Dylan, if you can put that information up there and I can read it out to folks so they can, if they want to join, they can. I think this is important to have conversations, Aissia, with the public square.
I do too. And I think that this is also a way to keep people engaged.
Yeah.
We are in this together, and if we're not communicating with each other, it's going to be much harder to come out of it. So I'm really excited about these food distribution sites. The food distribution sites are open on Mondays and Thursdays from 10 to 12. And so riding around the city on Thursday, I got to see some of the distributions happening, and there were lines starting at about 9 to get the food. So people should be prepared to wait in line and do the social distancing and wear a bandana or a mask, before you go out. So in West Philadelphia, we have the People's Emergency Center at 3750 Lancaster Avenue. In the Ogontz area, we have Upper Room Baptist Church, 7236 Ogontz Avenue. In the Southwest area, we have Opportunity Inc., 5900 Lansdowne Avenue.
Yeah.
And then we have Christ Church in South Philly, 229 Moore Street. That's 229 Moore Street. And also in Southwest, we have Mitchell Elementary School at 5500 King Sessing Avenue. In the 19140 zip code, Resurgence Church, 1738 West Atlantic Street. And then we have West Kensington Ministry in 19122, 2140 North Hancock Street.
Okay.
Dare to Imagine Church in the 19119 area. That's 6610 Anderson Street. And then in the 19120 area, we have Sakina SDA. I don't know what that is, but it's 531 Chew Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the 19121 zip code, Association of Former Gang Members, 1631 West Susquehanna Avenue. It's Toby, Rich, and Bonaparte. Then we have Keep the Faith Ministries in 19124, 1906 Harrison Street. And back in West Philly, we have Parkside Association, 19131. That's 1719 North 52nd Street.
Okay.
Oh, and then one of our friends in 19134 is Richard and Friends. We know Rich De Jesus.
Yeah, Rich De Jesus,
yeah. 1916 East Venango Street. And a pretty big one is Triumph Baptist Church at 1648 West Hunting Park Avenue.
Okay.
Back in the Southwest at 19142 is Giving Heart Ministries at 6506 Elmwood Avenue. And then in 19148 CMAC, which is the Association of Asian Organizations, is 1711 South Broad Street. That's in South Philadelphia.
There's a lot of people giving food.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. In Overbrook, let me just do one more in 19120. Iglesia Cristiana Avivamiento. That's 5500 Tabor Road. So, so there's a lot of people that are giving food. Of course, there's 49 school district sites open from 9 to noon on Mondays and Thursdays, and each child gets 6 meals. And then there's 6 Philadelphia Housing Authority community centers open from 9 to noon every day, and each child receives breakfast and lunch.
Very good.
So these things are on online. If you want to Google food distribution Philadelphia, you'll be able to find them in your neighborhood. The Aspida School is doing, the Aspida Stetson, Aspida Olney is doing the distributions. There's lots of different places across the area that are reaching out and helping the neighbors. You also might want to, if folks can connect to some of the social service agencies that they normally get support from, some of the NACs, the neighborhood associations. You may be able to find folks that are doing deliveries. There's some really hardy folks that have decided that folks who are inbound, folks who are shut-ins, they've been doing deliveries. And so we have so many people who are heroes that don't wear capes that are out there.
A lot of people.
Folks.
A lot of people that are servicing the people. And this is important information. Once again, you're listening to Voices of Change on Usula Radio. We're going to take a short break. Dylan, were you able to put the phone number up there so people can tune in, or we're having difficulties with that? Yeah. Okay. So we can do that. Let's go ahead and add the number on there. We might have to get you a password to get in. And we can send that to you. We can send that password to folks, but we need to put that number up there. And I would like, if you can put the number up there so people, because I want people to interact with us. It's important for the public square to interact with what we're doing. Aissia works at, for Senator Sharif Street. And there's a lot of information that we are getting out to the public square. And we want folks to have this information, because in times like these, you got to stay connected. And sometimes people don't know where to go and how to find resources and where to find the resources and who to connect with. So it's important to have this information out there to the public square. Aissia just gave a list of places where you can go and get groceries and get food and stay, and that all that stuff is important during this time. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Voices of Change on Usula Radio with your host, Leslie Acosta and Aissia Richardson. We'll be right back.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Listening to Voices of Change on Usula Radio with your host, Leslie Acosta and Aissia Richardson. Aissia, Topsy Turvy month. I title this Topsy Turvy month because of everything that's going on. Philadelphia, thank God, things have been a little contained here. We've taken precaution here statewide and locally here in Philadelphia, which is a good thing. There's not been a lot of cases reported in the city of Philadelphia. We have had our cases, but not as bad as other states like in Florida and New Jersey and Delaware and New York. People dying by the dozens. They don't. It's hard to see. Hard to listen to the news every day and know all this stuff that's going on. And I don't know, Aissia. I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that we're going to have sunny side up soon, that this is soon going to be over. It's going to blow over, like a friend of mine says, and we can get back to normal again, back to normal. But let's talk about the voting, because, it has been extended to June the 2nd. So now
Yes.
Voting is now June the 2nd because of this crisis. People have the option. Now, actually, state officials and local officials, they've been urging people to vote absentee ballots because of this social distancing. I know here locally, they're going to sanitize the voting machines. They want to do all that to make sure that we are taking precaution here. But state officials and local officials are urging for folks to do this absentee ballot. Let's talk about the absentee ballot process and how people can get access to this, because you can get access to this online, but you can't vote online. You would have that would have to be submitted physically. You would have to submit that physically to an official, or you would have to go and hand that in personally. Can you talk about this process and how people can do this absentee ballot if they do not want to go to the voting booth?
Well, I think the first thing is just to make sure that you're on the voting polls, that you haven't been purged. So you can call the county voter registration administrator, and that phone number is 215-686-1591. That's 215-686-1591. The acting voter registration administrator is Greg Irving. The address is 520 North Columbus Boulevard, 5th floor. And so you can get in contact with the voter registration folks to just make sure you're on the voting register. The second thing regarding getting a ballot for absentee voting is to call the County Board of Elections, and that is in room 142 in City Hall. But as we know, City Hall has been shut down. The phone number is 215-686-3469. But if you can't get through to that, you could just call the Philadelphia 311 number. That number is picking up and is directing people to what they need. Our new election date is now June the 2nd. That is our primary. The last day to register to vote is May 18th. Okay, so May 18th is the last day to register to vote. So you do have time to do that. If you want to do a mail-in or mail-in ballot, the last day to get that in is May 26th. All right, so you have to, that's the last day to apply. The last day to apply. You can actually get you can vote the day of the election with your absentee ballot. So, but if you want to get your absentee ballot, you have to apply for it by May 26th. And there is a website. It's www.votespa.com, and that is the website for the state's voting area. Let's see.
Aissia,
yes.
I have a question. In the normal process of this voting and absentee ballot, it was 7 days prior to the election that
Right.
you had to get this absentee ballot into City Hall, right? Because of this
Yes.
pandemic, now is the day you can do the absentee ballot the day of. Is that correct?
Actually, the rules about the absentee ballot changed before the COVID crisis. There was a legislation that was passed in the House and Senate that changed the voting rules to give people more time to get their absentee ballots in.
Yeah.
And so,
is that correct?
Yeah. And the online process is that you have to do an application, a mail-in application, and or you can give a call to the county election office to request that the application be mailed to you. But you can apply online for a mail-in ballot. Let's see.
Yeah, and you know, and what we're trying to do is get this information early on to the voters and to the people out to the public square. Remember, you have to be a registered voter, and you have to ensure that you haven't been dropped from the rolls to be able to participate. If you want to vote by absentee ballot, which is, I believe, we're going to see an uptick in absentee ballots because of the COVID-19. People are not going to want to go out and vote. They're going to want to stay, keep their distance and do things in this fashion. So this is information that we're trying to get out to the public square, and for the people to also be proactive. If you don't know whether you're on the voting rolls or not, you need to find out. You can actually get online and figure out and find out if you're still on the voting. They can do it online as well, correct, Aissia, to find out if they're still registered. Yeah,
you can. And then you know what? I am going to send the link through the through our Zoom chat for the ballot to do the ballot request. Okay, so I'm just going to send that link, and then you should be getting, Dylan and you should be getting that link to be able to send it out to folks on the USALA website. Okay,
yeah.
Because I think that, like you said, it's really important for people to do the application online, because who knows whether these offices are going to be open to be able to even accept them.
Exactly. But the good thing is, look, if you guys out to the public square again, you want to interact with us, information is on the chat. Get this out to the public square. If you have any questions, you can tune in. We're gonna push this more actively, of having people call in and interact with us and ask us questions. I think this is important, and during this time, we want people to interact. So we're going to push this interaction for our next show next Saturday, and get more people to participate and come online with us and have this great conversations. Everything obviously within bounds and with respect. We all have differences of opinion, but we'll respect each other. But I'd like to have these conversations, and we're going to definitely start interacting with the public. So this is the opportune time to do it, and we will do this. If next Saturday we will have a couple people with us, Aissia, interacting with us from the public square. I think that's important. I think that's important to do. Anything else you want to contribute before we go? We only have about probably 3-4 minutes left. Well, anything you have to say, Aissia, to conclude this segment of the show?
I just want to tell people to practice the social distancing, wash your hands for the 20 seconds, make sure you disinfect if you do have to go out, make sure you disinfect when you come back in. People, they're recommending that you leave your shoes at the door. A lot of people already do that anyway. And then wear the mask, to be able to keep yourself and others who have compromised immune systems safe. So we will get through this together. And I just want to say to everybody who's out there, stay well.
Well, the other thing that they're contemplating is that if you're going to go to public places, they're going to mandate for you to have a mask on. They haven't enforced it, but it is something that they're contemplating. Last question before we go. Does the city currently have a mandated stay home order, Aissia?
Yes, the city has a mandated stay home order, and they also have a order where they are you cannot have groups of more than 10 gathering, and the police are going to start enforcing that. So it's $100 ticket
for that.
It's $100 ticket. Yeah.
So they're talking about fines then.
They're talking about fines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see, folks, you got to make sure you're vigilant. You understand that this is serious business, and if you're not abiding by the law and by the orders and the ordinances that the city has established, people will be getting fined. I mean, I guess that's the way to enforce the law, if you will. Well, Aissia, all this stuff is important, and I hope we can get through this quickly. This has been a tough situation for everyone involved. No one expected this. I don't think that this country was ready for this type of crisis, and everyone is scrambling to figure out how to to get this right, how to minimize the death in this country. But the toll has that there's an uptick in the death. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's really bad.
It is.
And we're hoping for the best here.
We are, and I think that Philadelphia has been doing what it needs to do to prepare. I mean, the unfortunate thing is, right now, the cry for healthcare workers is for those protective, personal protective equipment, the PPEs, and they don't have enough. They just don't have enough. So that is an issue, and we're hoping that we can get them for all the frontline staff. That includes the techs, that includes transport, that includes the nurses and the doctors as well. So that's a problem, and we need to make sure that we have the equipment to keep our frontline people safe, and also to keep folks who are going to the hospital safe. So we have the Leah Core Center has been set up as an overflow site. So we're preparing for that. It's unfortunate that Hahnemann Hospital, we lost Hahnemann Hospital. But we need to have a serious conversation about our medical deserts. In our cities and in our rural areas. If we're going to be prepared for this moving forward, we need to have a serious conversation about boosting up our medical support for our citizens across the state. It is unacceptable that a woman who's pregnant, who lives in a rural area, has to drive 2 hours to get to have her baby. in labor, right?
Yeah.
So we need to have this conversation, and the issue of Heinemann is not over. It's maybe closed for right now, but it's not over.
Well, and we want to thank the healthcare workers, Aissia. They're doing an excellent job.
Yes.
People that are out there that are providing the essential services. We got to kudos to them. These people have been working day in and day out to save lives, and we want to give you a special thanks for doing this, and for having that commitment, to not only to your job but to the people. Anyone that is providing an essential service right now and they're out there working, kudos to them. And we have to thank them because they're putting their lives at risk to save others. And that we have to say thank you, and thank you for your service. So we've concluded the segment of the show. You're listening to Voices of Change on USALA Radio. Thank you for always being with us every Saturday. Next Saturday, we're going to have a little bit more interesting interaction with the public square. We will have interaction with the public square next week because we want to hear your feedback, and we want to know what you're thinking and how how we can help, how Voices of Change can provide information, not resources, but information, so that it can keep you equipped and up to par on information that we all need to ensure that we are abiding by the guidelines and staying safe during this time. So thank you, Aissia. Thank you once again.
All right. And thank you. And everybody stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.